YouTube, what is up? It's your boy Jason from the Lot Talk, and we're back for another NBA Game Day breakdown for March 18th, 2025. And let's talk about these games today. We have 4 games on the slate, so it's not a super big one, but I still think it is another good one to be betting on. We have also some NCAA plays today, obviously. There's some of the beginning parts of the tournament and some conference finishes, things like that. So if you guys do want to tap in, we will have picks for both NCAA and NBA, but we have a long week ahead of me. Just to be 100% transparent, yesterday I did not have a great day. I went 0-3 after having 2 back-to-back sweeps. So not the best start to my week, but it's part of the game, man. You're going to win and you're going to lose. But it's not about how you lose. It's about how you bounce back and continue to be consistent. So it's part of the game. I had some bad luck with some foul trouble, and then I had Kobe White as one of my free plays, 34.5 PRA. He got 33 PRA, and he had 30 in the third quarter going into the fourth. Only got 3 points and assists. It's disgusting. Hey, man, it is what it is. Let's keep on rocking and rolling, man. And let's talk about these games today. 4 games on the slate, and I'll go straight into it right now. Let's talk about the first game on the board. We have the Atlanta Hawks against the Charlotte Hornets. Atlanta laying 6.5 points on the road. And man, I need to zoom out this a little bit because it's a little too big. Let's see, there we go. That's a little bit better. All right, so the one thing I do have to talk about for all these games is the playoff implications. So Atlanta Hawks do have a shot to make in the play-in tournament, get seeding. Hornets obviously out of it, and there's a big thing right now with the NBA trying to prevent teams from outright tanking. So they've been forcing players who have been all-stars to play, or finding teams for sitting guys, or like manipulating lineups. So even on the Hornets, they probably would not be playing LaMelo Ball. He's supposed to play today. Miles Bridges, however, is out. Brandon Miller, he's injured. He's out for the rest of the season. But they'll have Mark Williams and a few of their other guys. On the Hawks side, Clint Capella's out, and then LeVert is also out. Jalen Johnson's been out for like the rest of the year. He was a great bet for us all year long. But the one thing I do want to say about this game is the matchup. They have a pretty weak defense, especially in the last 5 games. Last week, one of the lower rated defenses in the league. But the Hornets, their offense has been pretty terrible, to be honest. I mean, it's been kind of muddled because a lot of their players have been in and out. Like LaMelo chooses when he wants to play. Miles Bridges plays here and there. Even Brandon Miller and Mark Williams, they weren't super consistent either. And then they also traded a few guys as well. So, I mean, but, with that being said, Hawks defense isn't great. You can even see right here, effective field goal percentage. They are 30th in the league. I mean, can't get worse than that, right? So on the other side, though, the Hornets defense, they actually, I think, match up pretty good against what the Hawks like to do. So even though you think of this Hawks team, you think of Trae Young, you think of his 3-point shooting, things like that. They have not been shooting that many threes so far this year. If you take a look at the amount of 3-point percentage, 21st in the league, a lot different than what you thought. And then just to hammer in my point, Hornets have been 5th in the league in 3-point defense so far this season. They make you attack the paint, which is actually, I think, okay. They got Hawks can go into transition. They have guys that can definitely go on the break or at least attack the basket. Trae Young could drive it in for the floaters. Dyson Daniels as well. So I think they do have the weapons to be competitive. We did see these guys play actually recently head to head. They played last week. The Hawks did win by 13 points. That was in Atlanta. Now they'll be in Charlotte. I don't think it's a huge difference maker, but Charlotte has been okay in their last head-to-head games, man. They are, what is this, 5-2 in their last 7 games head-to-head. Over the last 10 games, Hornets have been 40% cover rate, while Hawks have not been covering that well at all. They've only covered, 4 of their last 10 games at the spread. Hornets, however, they've covered, this is what, 5 out of 5, so 50%. So not a big difference at all. Look, I think this game is going to be a little bit closer than what people think. I had this game capped around a 7. This line is actually very similar to what they played last time. They were a 7.5-point favorite. Now they're only 6.5-point favorites at home. I think a lot of it's because Miles Bridges is not playing in this game. I believe he played in their last game. So I think that makes sense that this line is where it's at, given he's worth at least 1 to 2 points, even with the home court advantage. So that's the reason why this line is so similar to the game that they played in Atlanta. Atlanta is definitely a little bit motivated, man, compared to the Hornets. But hey, I do think in this game you could play multiple ways. I kind of think the Hornets can be maybe a little bit competitive and keep the game kind of close, but I don't really want to back them too much, even though I'll say this, everyone and their mother, for some reason, not for some reason, but everyone is on the Hawks today, which makes sense. I mean, people are gonna say they blew them out, they have motivation, but I think the Hornets can actually, with their 3-point defense and them allowing points in the paint, maybe having Mark Williams with some size, they can keep it kind of close. It's not my favorite game to bet. I'm not like rushing to bet this game, but if I was to bet, I will lean with the Hornets. Give me the points. I think this line could go to 7. I'm surprised it's at 6.5, given where all the money's been at. But yeah, I'll go with the Hornets plus 6.5 in this game. All right, another game. Gotta be careful about, but still, we've seen this matchup a bunch of times. We have the Brooklyn Nets against the Boston Celtics, and the one thing we have to go to, as always, when it comes to NBA is the injury report. Nets, no Cam Thomas. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. And then Zaire Williams and Clowney, they are game time decisions. They're pretty important. I mean, they provide a lot of offensive spark, especially Zaire Williams. I like him a lot, and Clowney as well. On the other side, Jaylen Brown, he's out. But then the biggest one for this spread and probably for this game is Tatum. He is a game time decision. So, I mean, it's pretty much locked in that the Cavaliers will be the #1 seed in the East. So it's not like the Celtics are playing for anything super crazy. I mean, they're not playing for #1, I think, anymore. And we will talk about the Cavaliers game in the last part of this video because they're the last game against the Clippers. But hey, man, look, I'll say this about this game. The Boston Celtics, even though if you look, yes, they've been beating the Brooklyn Nets head to head. Brooklyn Nets have played this team pretty well, at least so far this year. I mean, they almost beat the Boston Celtics when they played in Brooklyn. If you do not know, Brooklyn is actually one of the best road teams in the NBA covering wise. A lot of it's because they get huge spreads like what they have right now, 13.5 points. They were 11.5 point dogs on the road. I mean, at home in Brooklyn. Now they're only 13 point dogs on the road. But hey, man, I mean, it's tough to cap this game because look, Brooklyn has been on fire, bro. I mean, I believe they've covered in all of their games, in their almost all of the games in the last 5. I think they're 4 for 1. Boston, however, I mean, they've not been covering these big spreads, but in terms of covering, they have covered only in 2 out of the last 3 games. The last game that they did play was against Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, they didn't cover that game. The game was a lot closer than what people thought. But hey, man, I mean, like I always say, the Celtics usually play to the level of their competition. They play a really good team. They stand up and they get up for that game. When they play bad teams, they kind of don't really get up as hard. I'll say this, though. I think in this game, it's so tough to cap, bro, because you don't know if Jason Tatum's playing or not. If Jason Tatum does not play, I think this line actually makes a little bit more sense because if he's playing, I think this line should be 15.5, 16. So I don't know if the books know something that we don't, that maybe that the Boston Celtics are not playing Tatum because he is listed. But if he doesn't play, I think, I mean, for some reason, Brooklyn has been very, very competitive against this team, and especially because, in my opinion, Cam Thomas isn't playing. Even though, I mean, their offense might take a little bit of a step back, their defense takes a big step up, in my opinion. In this game, man, I'll go with the history, and I'll take a shot maybe that Tatum doesn't play because, look, I do think, yes, the Celtics, they still have seeding motivation in some factor, but they're not going for #1 anymore. They probably want to make sure that they're healthy more than anything else. And a game where, yeah, they're facing an East Coast team, but there's not like huge playoff implications if they beat this team or not. I think this game will be like an 8-point game, 10-point game, and you can still see the Brooklyn Nets cover. So give me another dog, bro. Give me the Brooklyn Nets plus 13.5. I think if history repeats itself again, this game just stays competitive, and Brooklyn Nets being one of the best road covering teams in the NBA, they might continue this trend in this one. And all right, guys, well, I do want to say one thing, man. If you've been rocking with me, right, and you've been seeing me, use all these different books, especially when it comes to these player props or getting the better lines, I always tell you guys, you have to bet the best lines you can, no matter what you do, man. Like, that's the one way. If you want to get an advantage, an edge over the books, you have to be betting on the best lines you can. So I do want to talk about one site that I've been using, or one new app. It's US based. It's not an offshore book. It's called NOVIG. I've been kind of pounding this every goddamn video, but I want you guys to use it. It's a peer-to-peer based sports betting app, social sports book, where you bet against someone else. So there's less juice, almost no juice taken from the house. So what does that mean? Instead of betting -110s like you see on FanDuel, right? You could bet -107s depending on what the lines are. So you save 5 to 3% every single bet you make. So you either make more money or save more money when you lose. And I think that's exactly what you need to do. It's hard enough just picking winners, but it's also very important that you get the best line possible. Like Uber and Lyft, right? Are you gonna pay $15 for Lyft when you can get $14 in Uber? No, every dollar counts, man. Especially if you're betting big. So I'd say get on Novig. I'll put a link down in the description and in that pinned comment. Use this code LOCK. And if you do, send me a DM on Instagram and I'll get you in for a week free in my premium. If you do want this whole write-up that I have, I'll put something as well in the description so you guys can look it up because the proof's in the pudding, bro. Look at the comparison of the lines. Not every single line's always better. You still got to do some line shopping, but I do think you do got to do this if you do want to make some money in sports betting, man. Again, get on Novig. I'll give you guys a free week as well. But now, I think we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this whole card because these are the games that it actually matters a little bit more. I think well, at least this game for sure. But this one's definitely a little bit more competitive for sure. The Milwaukee Bucks against the Golden State Warriors, man. Let's talk about this game because Golden State, they're on a back-to-back. They just played. They lost to the Nuggets, who had nobody. And if people want to say, oh, they were saving themselves for this game, I don't think so, bro, because the Nuggets are a West Coast team. They would want to beat a West Coast team over an East Coast team, in my opinion, and especially for those seeding purposes, given the fact that the Warriors also, like, they still got to play and win, just like the Bucks, bro. Very similar records on both sides. Obviously, the West, in my opinion, is a little bit more competitive. So, yeah, I mean, they probably should have won that Nuggets game. Maybe they took it lackluster. Now, maybe they might get up for this one. But I will say this. On this lineup, Bucks, Giannis, and Lillard, they say they're game time decisions, but on another site, they do say that they're probably going to play. So I think that's actually very important. In terms of the Golden State Warriors, the biggest concern I do have is if Lillard will play. I mean, Curry will play. And last night, before the game he had against the Nuggets, he was questionable, played. He looks like he's on the lineup, man. So I will cap this game with him playing. The other big injury that might be, I guess, a positive for the Warriors that Podominski, even though he says he's out here on another site, it looks like he's a game time decision. But we'll see. Actually, I mean, I'm actually doubling right now. Oh, actually, it looks like he's out. I think he's out. Yeah, so he's not playing. Even though he's listed on some lineups. Yeah, Podominski's not playing. So, but the big one for sure is Curry. Curry looks like he's playing today, and Milwaukee will have Lillard and Giannis. I think they all have to play as many guys they can because they need to win these games for both teams on both sides. However, with that being said, Milwaukee Bucks, they've had a pretty strong defense, but the Warriors have had a top 10 defense all year. You will see stats on like rebounding that the Warriors have better rebounding numbers, but I don't know, man. Look, Milwaukee, some of those numbers are a little bit muddled because Giannis wasn't playing a lot of them. Portis hasn't played in a lot of these games. They just got Kuzma. Brook Lopez didn't play for some games. So I think Milwaukee, at least recently, their rebounding numbers have definitely stepped up. Warriors, their big advantage, obviously, is the three-point shooting, right? Milwaukee, they do have a pretty strong three-point defense. However, they don't play as well against teams that shoot really good at the three-point line. And obviously, Warriors, they probably have the best three-point shooter of all time in Steph Curry. So this could be a very interesting game. 27 over under. I believe this line, I want to double check, opened up a little bit higher. Yep, it was up. I mean, I wouldn't pay attention to this because this is like a long time. 235. I don't think that. I did see the 230 number though. So I believe it was around 230. Now it's all the way down to 227, which is very interesting. Yeah, man, this is a tough game. Golden State Warriors back-to-back. I've seen on their record, or at least at the spread, they're pretty much even, so I don't think it's a huge deal, but something to take into consideration. Milwaukee are 3.5-point favorites on the road. I do think they have a big advantage with Giannis in the size, even if they got Draymond who could maybe cover him, but they definitely have a big size advantage here, but it hasn't really troubled the Warriors too much. But I don't know. I think this game, since Curry's playing, I don't know, bro. I really do think the Warriors are the better team. I'm surprised that Milwaukee's such a large, decent-sized favorite in this game. Obviously, people might be down on the Warriors because they blew a game against the Nuggets who had nobody, right? I mean, that's pretty crazy. Looks like in terms of where the money's at, everyone's on the Warriors, though, which is pretty crazy. I think this game's a little bit closer than what it is, but I have to kind of side with the Bucks, man. I think the Bucks on the road, everyone healthy, the Warriors on a back-to-back, even with the Warriors' good three-point shooting, I think the Bucks will be able to get in the paint, get second-chance buckets, even with, the numbers are saying that their rebounding isn't that good. I do think they will have a step up here with Giannis being healthy, playing major minutes. I will also say this. One thing that is, I guess, maybe a little concerning on the Bucks side that's not listed here is that Jericho Sims, he's listed as out. He comes off the bench to play for, I guess, Giannis or Brook Lopez when, they're getting some rest. Something to consider. I don't think it's like a game shift or anything like that. Bucks will get Portis back, I think, in 3 or 2 weeks, so that's a good thing for them. But look, I think Bucks get this game done. They cover the number, and the public gets smashed on this one, maybe. But we'll see, man. Obviously, Curry can work his magic. Maybe they bounce back from that last game. I like the Milwaukee Bucks -3.5 in this one. And all right, guys, let's talk about the last game on the board today. The Cleveland Cavaliers against the Los Angeles Clippers. And this one's interesting because, look, I honestly think the Cleveland Cavaliers have the first seed locked up. I mean, their dreams to get 70 wins, I think, is done. I mean, they are 7 games ahead of the Boston Celtics, a lot. So, I mean, I don't think they probably are a little bit more concerned with the health of the team more than anything. And the reason why I say that is because Mobley, he is a game time decision. That's pretty big, man. He's a big piece to this offense. Everyone else is healthy on the Cleveland side. Clippers, no major injuries. I mean, their major stars are playing. Kawhi, Harden, Zubac. So, I mean, look, Clippers have a lot more to play for in this game. They're playing at home, and that's important as well because it's undeniable, bro. The Clippers are the best home covering team in the NBA. When they've been at home at the spread, 67% coverage at home, and they're getting points, +4 points. I mean, +4 points. But look, man, Cleveland is definitely a really good team, bro. I mean, the one thing I will say about Cleveland that it's been like a thorn in the butt of the Clippers is the Cleveland Cavaliers are one of the best 3-point shooting teams. They shoot the three at the highest rate, and the Clippers, that's one area that they're the weakest in right now. It's that 3-point defense. However, I will also say this: they've actually done pretty good against some teams, a lot of these teams that do shoot the three a lot. But the one thing on the other side, though, is that Cleveland Cavaliers, they also are very good 3-point defense. And the Clippers actually do shoot a decent amount of threes. And when you are forced to attack the basket against the Cleveland Cavaliers, you usually have a pretty tough time. So that's why this injury with Mobley is so big. Is he going to play or not? Right now, it's very 50-50. I do think, however, if you want to take the shot with with the Los Angeles Clippers at +4 and Mobley sits, I love this number. I think the Los Angeles Clippers have a really good shot to win outright. And it looks like everyone and their mother is on the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. So, yeah, man, I like the Clippers. I know they have not been like the best in a few instances. They did get some pretty big wins, though, against Charlotte. They did beat Sacramento Kings. Let's see. Let's take a look at their last 3 games in general. Miami Heat, Hawks, Charlotte, not the strongest strength of schedule. Cleveland, not that strong either, man. I wouldn't call Orlando a top 10 team anymore. Memphis without John, a few of those guys. I mean, I guess it's still impressive, but that game was a lot closer than it should have been, given the injuries. Yeah, man, give me the Clippers +4. I'm going to take a dog. I think they could win this game outright. But guys, thanks so much again for tapping in and watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, please shoot me a DM, and please sign up on NOVIG. Get in with one of our partners. Let's go smoke the books, baby. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, man.